Didn't you know? Todd's vegan.
Vegan?
Hey everyone, today we're going to be making the vegan shepherd's pie from volume 2 of Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. Now, I'm not vegan, but it's always good to be inclusive.
Being vegan just makes you better than most people.
The book is somewhat detailed in describing how the dish is made, so let's get to it. For our ingredients, we're going to need 4 potatoes. I happen to have 5 of them lying around, so that's almost perfect. We're also going to need 2 medium carrots and 1 stick of celery with leaves on. I bought a whole bunch because I don't think my local grocer would be happy with me just taking 1 stick. Also, 2 cloves of garlic, but as it usually is, I'm gonna use as much as I feel like in the moment. And 1 onion. The next ingredient is simply listed as fake meat stuff. There's a lot of choices to pick from where I shop. I could have gone with some tofu crumbles or various other plant-based meats, but I settled on Impossible ground beef because I've had it in the past and it honestly wasn't bad. We're also going to need some soy margarine and vegan gravy mix, which was surprisingly easy to find. Lastly, some soy milk.
I'll take the one with soy.
Make sure you get unflavored soy milk and not vanilla. Also optional is red wine. We're currently not drinking in the household, so I decided to get the cheapest, most bottom of the barrel wine I could find, price-wise anyway. And of course, some olive oil. To start off, I'm actually going to jump ahead to step 6 in the recipe where we are combining a bunch of ingredients with the gravy mix and soy milk. To make things easier, I decided to preemptively combine the soy milk and gravy mix to form a gravy. It should make mixing it all in later much easier. Though, I will mention that if you're going to heat it up on the stove like I did, don't go too hot or the gravy will thicken up by quite a bit. You can always water it down with some more soy milk though. Also, while we're here, I think step 7 is missing from the comic, but whatever. Anyway, with that out of the way, let's get back to step 1 by getting a pot of water boiling while we cut up our potatoes. The recipe states that we can leave the skin on if we want, which I am very happy with because it's actually my preferred way of making mashed potatoes. Seriously, these skins are really good for you. If you're going to do that, just make sure you give them a good wash and scrub. Next, we're going to dice up our onion, carrot, celery, and garlic. The recipe says to use a food processor or invite your friends and make them do all the work. Since I'm flying solo today, I'm gonna go with the former. Once your pot's coming to a boil, salt the water. I'm gonna note here that the recipe has a very distinct lack of seasoning in general. Regardless, get your potatoes in to boil for about 15 to 20 minutes. While that's going, I'm going to brown my Impossible meat. If you instead chose to use some other sort of pre-cooked vegan meat, then you can probably skip this part. Either way, it's just some straightforward browning until we don't see any pink in the meat. Once your potatoes are soft enough, which you can test with a butter knife, get them off the heat, drain them, and mash, adding in the margarine and soy milk until it's a nice, mashed potato-like consistency, I guess. Set that aside, and now we're going to cook our vegetables for 15 to 20 minutes until they're nice and soft. I don't think it took that long for mine since they were so finely chopped by the food processor anyway. You can optionally deglaze with red wine at the end here. Then we're going to add in our vegan meat of choice and the pre-mixed gravy and soy milk mix. You're going to want a whole mixture that is, for lack of a better word, kinda gloopy or something. And we're almost done. Get a baking dish or casserole or whatever oven-safe vessel you want to use and transfer the contents into it, using a spatula or whatever you want to evenly distribute and flatten it out. Next, we're going to carefully layer our mashed potatoes on top of it, being careful not to accidentally mess with the layer underneath. And you can feel free to stop at this point, as they did in the comic. However, if you have the time, you can also pop it in the oven like I did. 400 Fahrenheit for about 20 minutes or so, or until it's as brown as you like. Mine didn't really brown as much as I would have liked it to, probably because I did not use enough margarine in the potatoes or something. Either way, dig in. I found the dish to be, honestly, alright, but definitely under-seasoned, which is to be expected. The important thing is, just make sure there's no one lurking outside your house while you eat.
You once were a vegan, but now you will be gone.
Vegan?